Thanks, Fred. Yesterday we're joined by Carla van Raay again. Welcome to the couch.
Great to be here, Neesha.
Now, Carla joined us recently and talked through some of the experiences that led to her publishing her first, second and third book now. Today we're going to focus, Carla, a little bit more on some particular experiences and particularly some points in the book where I think our audience, and particularly when we were talking, can learn a lot from. You mentioned earlier when we were prepping about healing and how a lot of your experiences, particularly later on, have had to do with your own experience of being able to heal, be open with yourself, and also the journey through. So can you tell us a little bit about that, particularly your additional book here I've got, which will be on screen later anyway, but Desire?
Right.
How did we lead into that one?
Okay, well, that second book, of course, came about because Aaron, I was with Aaron for 2 weeks, and I described that in my first book. Yes. Only 2 weeks. When he was 19, I was 34. But because I wanted to explore my sexuality after that, I became a call girl. I became a sex worker for about 20 years. And the book was written and the book was published, and then Aaron came back into my life 30 years later. And we picked up where we left off. The energy between us was still the same, but we were, of course, different people. We'd grown up to be different people.
Sure.
And we discovered that we were both very eccentric kind of people as well. And we didn't take any notice of that kind of thing, really. We were together very happily, enjoying the sexuality between us. And I was like a teenager at the beginning of this story. I was just completely in love and completely besotted and anxious and all that kind of thing that teenagers experience when they fall in love. Okay. That's right. But the story evolves as I mature. It's a story of the evolution of a relationship, and the relationship was a healing experience for me because as a call girl, I had lots of liaisons with guys, but I was always in control. The guys became my friends, quite a lot of them became my friends, but, you know, nobody took me out for dinner much. Nobody took me out to the movies. There wasn't a relationship going on.
Sure.
So this time I learned how to surrender as a woman. I learned how to be completely open with a person, how to trust myself, my feelings, how to trust another person, to be really intimate, and that's the great learning. That was the main learning from this relationship. But there was another thing that I learned was very valuable to me, and I make a lot of that in my book, because Aaron is one of those people that you can't change, but you want to change, desperately want to change him, because
as we all do, I think we can relate to in relationships at points. There's a few things you'd like to tweak. That's
right. You always like to tweak, but he was more than tweaking this one. He was such a free spirit, and doing things his own way, used to doing things his own way and getting his own way all the time, that I find myself having to adjust all the time, you see.
Okay.
And the mistake we made when we started to live together was he came into my house, all right? Now, for a man, that is difficult for any man, because they need to establish their territory. See, when they come into a woman's place, how am I going to establish my territory? Well, he started putting all his stuff everywhere, and he's a collector of things, right? And I'm the opposite. I'm a Zen kind of person in my house, and definitely only things that I use, or only things that I value. But he's a collector of things, and the things started to appear everywhere. And so I made the mistake of not having enough boundaries. I didn't define boundaries for myself. And so he felt free to overrun all the boundaries. Of course, you know, I hadn't set them. So these were serious learnings for future relationships, I'd say.
Sure. So you mentioned that, and in terms of, we all watched Royal Wedding in recent times. The difference between reforming someone and transforming someone, that's what springs to mind. The learning that you're not to try and reform someone, but transform each other together.
Yeah.
Am I on the right path there? Where
absolutely.
You were leading?
Yeah. Yes. If both people come together with the idea of growing and learning from each other, then there's a chance of transformation. But to view your partner as somehow defective and they need to change, and you try to reform them, that's not going to work. It's never going to work. That's heading for failure. And for a lot of bitterness as well, and for a lot of disappointment, and a lot of breakdown of good feelings.
Yeah. Another key point I also took from your book was the ability to be realistic and discerning about your relationships and the values and the importance of those values marrying up.
Yes, that's right, exactly. Yeah. There can be sort of differences between people's habits in the house that you can make compromises with. But when a person has values are very different from your own, then you need to have a look at, do I want to sacrifice my values here? And the answer is usually no, I don't. And it'd be very wise if you didn't. But you need to figure out what those values are. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so look, I'm wary of time. I could talk to you all day on the couch, but we do have a segment. And just looking at the books that you've published at the moment today, a lot of the experience we talked about was out of Desire, Awakening God's Woman. Fred spoke to you about God's Call Girl, which was about more so the overall experience before, and then The Price of Passion, which was your memoir, and in addition to your original book, God's Call Girl. Is that correct?
The Price of Passion and Desire, they're actually the same book, but the Price of Passion has an epilogue. Okay. You see the relationship lasted for 2.5 years. But what happened a year later? We sort of came back for a year later to finish off some patterns, some things that hadn't been done before, hadn't been finalised before. So that's got the epilogue of about 15 pages in it.
Okay, fantastic. So it's addition to the Desire book.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just before we head off, I just wanted to make a point of the very good work that you're doing at the moment. I understand that you work with a lot of people around acceptance, and you utilise obviously your experience of going through the journey of healing to do that. And your website, which is www.carlavanraay.com, and you can go onto that website and you're able to obviously find out more about Carla's books, but also importantly, this segment alongside some of the information about the books will be on the Couch website, which is www.thecouch.com.au. So if you want more information, you can contact Carla. I'm sure you'll be happy to, obviously, one-on-one sessions, talk to people about what they're experiencing. And that will be very valuable for you if you've had similar experience or just want to find out more about help that you can get. So thank you very much for coming on the show today, and I look forward to having you on again soon.
Okay, thank you.